Part 18. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 171. Zhang Zizai followed this group of great figures of the dynasty into the magnificent golden palace and stood at the end of the team. Princess Lingxian followed and stood on the other side. His side passed through the figures of the princes and ministers in front. On the steps in front, there was a golden dragon throne with a large number of dragon reliefs. It was majestic and solemn, symbolizing the supreme imperial power. Sitting in this position, high above, controlling the people of the world, with overwhelming power, the emperor's anger, millions of corpses, and 3,000 beauties in the harem, who would not dream and desire. It's no wonder that the emperor's descendants have all had the desire to get involved. It's a pity that the Flame Dragon Emperor is in his prime, and his martial arts skills are unparalleled. Even the prince is afraid that he doesn't know how long he will have to wait. Under Zhang Zizai's gaze, the Flame Dragon Emperor sat on the golden dragon throne. At this moment, he reigned over the world. His eyes and movements were noble and lofty, and he was admired. Long live our emperor! The princes and ministers saluted and shouted. Stand up! The Flame Dragon Emperor was in a good mood today, smiling. Please speak up if you have anything to say. Eunuch Qian stood aside, his voice was very sharp, and his face was smiling like 1,000 years. Recently, the empire has been relatively peaceful in various places, but there are also many memorials from various places, and the ministers of various departments have made memorials. The Flame Dragon Emperor decided that it was probably about which counties had major events and needed to mobilize the power of the empire. For example, some remote places in the empire had a disaster of source beasts, and troops needed to be sent to quell it. During the period, it was also mentioned that the desolate Heaven Pass was still in need of a large amount of supplies because of the many casualties and the people's livelihood. The Flame Dragon Emperor was considered a wise monarch by the people. He handled all these things in an orderly manner. After half an hour, Eunuch Qian asked, "Are there any other ministers to speak up?" Everyone bowed their head slightly, and no one stood up again, so it should be fine. Emperor Yanlong smiled slightly and said, "Zhang Zizai, Yan'er, stand up." Zhang Zizai did as he was told, and Princess Lingxian walked to his side. Emperor Yanlong smiled and said, "My dear ministers, please look, they are a perfect match, a pair of geniuses. Your Majesty is right, Zhang Zizai is a young hero, and he will definitely be a pillar of the dynasty in the future. Princess Lingxian is talented and has a bright future." Prime Minister Xiang Liuqiu held his long beard, his eyes flickering. Other ministers also began to praise. Emperor Yanlong said, "I have announced the marriage to the world at the 6 prefectures grand meeting. I asked you to come today to tell you that I have decided to marry you on September 5th this year, the sacrifice day. You have 3 or 4 months to prepare. Eunuch Qian will take care of the specific matters of the wedding. I will marry my first princess in a grand, magnificent, and elegant way." Zhang Zizai was born in July, and he would be 16 years old on the day of the sacrifice day. It took longer than he thought, but it would take time for Emperor Yanlong to prepare for a grand wedding. "Congratulations, princess, congratulations, young prince." People began to congratulate. "When the time comes, just let your mother, Princess Ruohua, bring the family to Yanlongxiu in advance." Emperor Yanlong smiled. "Zhang Zizai, Lingxian, do you have any objections to this time? He has already decided, how can he change it?" Zhang Zizai can only wait, so he nodded and said, "Your Majesty has arranged it so well, naturally there is no objection. As for Princess Lingxian, there will be no objection. It seems that in such a short period of time, you have cultivated a good relationship, and the husband and wife follow each other, which is very good." Emperor Yanlong laughed, and the ministers also laughed. "Eunuch Qian, I want to marry the princess in a grand manner. If you don't do well, I will punish you severely." He turned his head and said to Eunuch Qian. Eunuch Qian smiled and said, "Your Majesty, please rest assured. I will make the princess glorious and satisfy your Majesty. It must be a big event, obviously a real princess event. It is enough to cause unrest outside the imperial court." This matter was confirmed, and Emperor Yanlong said, "Lingxian, after the morning court, you take Zizai to the imperial garden and take him to see the scenery of our imperial city." "Yes, your Majesty." Lingxian bowed slightly. Eunuch Qian was about to leave the court when he saw this, but unexpectedly, the crown prince Long Yun suddenly stood up and said, "Father, I have something to ask you to decide for me." "Oh? You say?" Emperor Yanlong smiled. "Zhang Zizai was assassinated a few days ago, but because he was not dead, it was not spread. However, Emperor Yanlong must have known about it, but he did not seem to have any reaction." The prince looked at the Qingluan king next to him and said, "I have known the Qingluan king's eldest daughter Dong Yangjing for a long time. I have admired Dong Yangjing for a long time. Dong Yangjing is very talented, decent, generous, and gorgeous. I want to take her as a concubine." The Qingluan king next to him also stood up and said, "Your Majesty, the prince has a crush on my eldest daughter. I am deeply terrified. I am afraid that my daughter will not serve the prince well. However, the prince is sincere and I naturally cannot let him down. I also want to marry my eldest daughter to the prince as a concubine." The two sang in unison, and many princes and ministers kept smiling. I am afraid that they had expected this. At the Six Mansions Grand Meeting, the prince said that Dong Yangjing had a relationship with Zhang Junjian, and the Qingluan king was furious. Now that Zhang Zizai is in the family, everyone else is hiding, and the Qingluan king naturally dare not be involved with them. In addition, the prince needs the support of the Qingluan clan, and the two hit it off and finalized the matter directly. By marrying Dong Yangjing to the crown prince, King Qingluan won't have to worry about King Zilan's affairs getting involved with him. Now, we just have to wait for the opinion of Emperor Yanlong. Flame Dragon Emperor smiled, he looked at the two of them, and said, "Is that so? Since you have the consent of your father-in-law, how can I stop you? Yunur, if you have this idea in the future, you should tell me first. I will personally propose to King Qingluan. This is proper, understand? This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading." The prince hurriedly said, "Father, I was wrong and did not consider it carefully." King Qingluan said, "Your Majesty, the prince is a natural talent, and I am marrying above my station." Flame Dragon Emperor thought for a while and said, "If that's the case, then why not have double happiness? The date is set on the 5th day of September, the day of worshipping the gods. I want good things to come in pairs, my princess finds a good man, and my prince gets a beautiful daughter." The prince was overjoyed and knelt down to thank Flame Dragon Emperor. King Qingluan also breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. Becoming a relative of Flame Dragon Emperor will bring many benefits to his Qingluan clan. On the 5th day of September, double happiness. When the prince was happy, Emperor Yanlong said something that made him even happier. "I remember that you haven't appointed a crown princess yet, right? Dong Yangjing's birth, appearance, temperament, and talent are all excellent choices. On the day of marriage, she will be appointed as the crown princess." As soon as these words came out, the whole audience was silent. The crown princess now, the queen in the future. This is not taking a concubine. King Qingluan hurriedly knelt on the ground, excited and incoherent. "Your Majesty, I kowtow to you on behalf of my daughter. In the history of his Qingluan clan, there has never been a crown princess, let alone a queen. In his opinion, Dong Yangjing really ascended to heaven in one step. For the prince, this signal is also very good. After the crown princess is appointed, it will only make the world more recognized of his identity as the crown prince, and more certain that he will definitely be the future heir." He didn't expect that he would have such a big harvest today. When he was happy, he accidentally met Zhang Zizai's eyes. He smiled. When leaving the court, he walked past Zhang Zizai and said, "Tell your brother that I will take good care of my crown princess." Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 172. When they were in the side hall, Zhang Zizai had expected it when he saw that King Qingluan and the crown prince were in a heated mood. He knew how close his brother and Dong Yangjing were. While he was in Tahe prison, he still thought about her all the time. She admitted in public that she liked Zhang Junjian, which was not a rumor. On the day of the grand gathering of the 6 prefectures, the prince talked about the rumors in front of King Qingluan, and the purpose was already obvious. He wants to get the support of the Qingluan clan. As for Dong Yangjing, he has been suppressed by Zhang Junjian for too long. He probably wants to take away everything he likes. Zhang Junjian suppressed him back then, just like Zhang Zizai suppressed Princess Shenxiao today. Just because they are all men, the prince probably only has hatred in his heart. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow Diamond Suit. Sister Dong Yang. The marriage he granted might be able to free Zhang Junjian, but letting Dong Yangjing marry on the same day was like a trick of fate. There's still time, let's see. He knew that with Dong Yangjing's character, she would never give in. She looked weak, but with the strength in her heart, no one could stop her. Prince Longyun is 80% the person who assassinated me. Now, he wants to steal the person my brother likes, haha. Zhang Zizai hated people from the royal family. Now it seemed that his hatred and murderous intention for the prince had exceeded that of Shenxiao. After all, Princess Shenxiao was already defeated. And this prince is even more sinister and cunning. All his expressions, movements, and proud look make people want to tear his face apart. Both civil and military, the sun and moon are in the sky. They are siblings, they are really amazing. Looking like this, Princess Lingxian, who is also from the royal family, is really cute. Zhang Zizai knew that the Yanlong Emperor's double happiness, including the matter of the crown princess, would cause a sensation in the Yanlong ruins within an hour, and within a day, it would cause a sensation in the entire Yanlong dynasty. Dong Yangjing, you will know soon. He wanted to go to the protectorate. Emperor Yanlong had previously asked Princess Lingxian to take him to appreciate the scenery of the imperial city, so after the morning court, Zhang Zizai walked with her to the imperial garden, which was a sea of flowers that was not inferior to Ruohua. These are flowers from the north. They are noble and cool, and are different from those from the south. Princess Lingxian wore a red dress and shuttled among the sea of flowers, as if she had blended into it. Zhang Zizai was upset. He looked at her profile and said, "Get dressed up. She looks better than your sister. Why don't you look like this on weekdays?" Her eyes trembled slightly and she said softly, "Stop talking, my sister will be angry if she hears it. She has such a bad attitude towards you, and you still defend her," Zhang Zizai could tell. Princess Shenxiao scolded her several times. "She was very good to me when I was little." Princess Lingxian walked slowly and looked ahead. Zhang Zizai had no intention of looking at the flowers and plants at this time. He said, "Okay, it's been a long time, I'll leave first. I'll take you out." "No need, I know the way. It's better that I see you off." She followed Zhang Zizai, perhaps because this was the Yan Dragon Emperor's order, and she obeyed it especially. Zhang Zizai walked very fast, and she followed behind. Maybe her skirt was too long today. She let out a soft cry and tripped to the ground. Her knees hit the bluestone with a cracking sound, which hurt even when she heard it. "I'm impressed. I'm not even careful when walking." Zhang Zizai knew that he was walking faster. He felt a little guilty, so he turned around and walked up, about to pull her arm. "Don't touch me." Before she could finish her words, it was already too late. Zhang Zizai had already grabbed her arm and lifted her up. "It's time to lose weight, There's so much fat in my arms. Zhang Zizai pulled her up. Her skirt was covered in dust. He reached out and patted her a few times. He looked up and found that she was looking at him blankly, trembling a little. I don't like others touching me," she said through gritted teeth, with water mist coming out of her eyes. "Are you full of treasures?" Zhang Zizai was speechless. He tried to help her out of kindness, but she still wanted to be disliked. He glared at her and said, "Forget it, don't wear such long clothes next time. It's hard to walk when you meet someone. If I want to kill you, you'll be dead within 2 steps. Yes, she lowered her head and nodded. This well-behaved look made it hard for people to blame her. To be honest, Zhang Zizai knew that she said not to touch her, not because she disliked Zhang Zizai, but because she didn't want to have it. Suddenly, she looked behind Zhang Zizai, shrank quickly, took a few steps back, and distanced herself from Zhang Zizai. There is someone behind. Zhang Zizai turned around and saw a group of women coming from behind. Most of them were beautiful palace maids selected from the mortal world. The leaders were 2 people, one was Princess Shenxiao, and the other was a gentle and noble lady with a smile that made people laugh. A beautiful woman in palace clothes who feels very comfortable. Zhang Zizai knew her. She was Princess Shengxiao's mother, the concubine, and the one who gave Princess Shenxiao the dragon soul jade. She was relaxing in the imperial garden and met Zhang Zizai. "I've met concubine Su." Zhang Zizai and Princess Lingxian saluted together. Time flies so fast. The children back then have grown so big. Concubine Su smiled softly, looked at Zhang Zizai, and said, "She is more beautiful than your father and your brother. No wonder Lingxian can charm us." "Princess," Zhang Zizai said, "but not much time has passed for the Empress. She is still as young and beautiful as she was 10 years ago. If I hadn't known that Princess Shenxiao has no sister, I would have thought she was." Concubine Su chuckled and said, "You are really good at talking, and you can please the girl. If you come to the palace, you will be a real disaster." She looked at Zhang Zizai and Princess Lingxian and said, "They are a match made in heaven. Okay, I won't disturb you young people's romance. Fuer, let's go." This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Okay, Mother Shenxiao looked cold. From beginning to end, she didn't look at Zhang Zizai, but she clenched her fists. "Your Majesty, please." Zhang Zizai turned sideways and let concubine Su walk past them. They gradually disappeared into the sea of flowers. "It's all your fault. My sister will definitely blame me." Princess Lingxian was a little uneasy. They had physical contact just now, and Princess Shenxiao must have seen it. "It's none of her business that she's complaining." Zhang Zizai rolled his eyes and said, "Okay, don't send me away. It's a waste of my time. I'm leaving." The skirt was so long, and he didn't know when she would arrive. He had to rush to the protectorate mansion, so he didn't bother to wait for her and walked away quickly. Princess Lingxian stood there for a long time until his figure disappeared. "Hooer, don't leave yet." After returning to the Suxi Palace, concubine Su let Princess Shenxiao in. She looked very serious and sat at the top, examining Princess Shenxiao. "Longzhao, what are you causing trouble?" She was very angry, her eyes quickly became very sharp, and she turned against her faster than turning the page of a book. "Mother, what do you mean?" Princess Shenxiao was startled. Why was she so angry suddenly? "What do you mean by asking me? When did you become so stupid?" Concubine Su patted the table, glared at her and asked, "It's none of your business that they are flirting with each other. Why are you sulking around here? Longzhao, don't tell me, after you were defeated by this Zhang Zizi, your heart was conquered by him." "Mom, stop talking nonsense. How is this possible?" Princess Shenxiao smiled dumbly and said, "It's impossible, don't worry about it. I just warned him not to touch Lingxian, but he ignored my warning." Concubine Su smiled and said, there must be something wrong with your brain. Why can't he touch his fiancée? They will have children in the future. What does it have to do with you? Is Lingxian your biological sister? Princess Shenxiao gritted her teeth, not knowing how to respond. I'm telling you, don't think that my mother can't see it. If you still want to get entangled with Zhang Zizai, you are giving up everything. You'd better think clearly. All you can think about is surpassing him or even killing him. If you have even the slightest emotion, you will be in danger and others will reap the benefits. You have to know that in the eyes of your father, Zhang Zizai is just a pawn, and he will lose his value and die at any time. Princess Shenxiao lowered her head and bit her lip. Is Yanner also a chess piece? Will she die too? Shut up, you just need to remember that she is not your biological sister, just be yourself and don't care about others. Mother, I understand. She suddenly felt very bitter and tired, and she didn't know why. Remember, you only need to have a little affection for him. If you disobey your father, you will lose everything and be doomed. Those people are waiting for you to make a mistake. Concubine Su reminded again. Okay. Mom, I'll go back and think about it. Be sure to remember it. She warned again. Fuer, you won't waste your great future and live up to my mother's expectations for you. You are everything to me, and everything I do is for you. Concubine Su stared at her hard. Do you know how much hardship I endured to achieve my status today? Do you know what will happen to those without power in this imperial city? We too have no background. If you don't take this path well, all the people I have offended over the years will receive all the revenge after you lose power. How will your fate be in the future? Do you know the misery? If you don't succeed, my mother will die in front of you. Do you want my mother to die? She spoke several words in succession, pressing on Princess Shengxiao's head. Do you want me to die in front of you? She didn't know how many times she had said this. Mom, I understand, don't talk like this, she cried. It was painful for her to stay here. She turned around and ran away. The sky was filled with flowers along the way, and there were symbols of ruthlessness in her eyes. She stood where she met. In that position, he finally couldn't control his tears. Mom, please stop talking, okay? I know I was wrong, I was wrong. She shook her hands and patted her head, trying to get that scene out of her mind. That scene was the one that happened in Zhang Zizai's room. It has been lingering in my mind for the past few days. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 173. On the 5th day of September, the day of worshipping the gods, the whole dynasty celebrated, and the royal family had a double happiness. Zhang Zizai didn't stay in the imperial garden for long. When he came out of the imperial city, the news had spread outside and was being discussed everywhere. Guests in tea houses and restaurants, friends walking on the streets, merchants and guests were all talking about the two marriages with relish. To be honest, both marriages have explosive points, which make people think about them. First of all, the future crown princess Dong Yangjing once said at the Six Mansions grand meeting that she and Zhang Junjian were in love. As for Zhang Zizai and Princess Lingxian, there is also a Princess Shenxiao in between. Those love, hatred, and possible changes have caused people to speculate. People have different opinions on whether these two marriages will change and which one will change. However, the two sons of King Zilan are involved in the two marriages. In addition, considering the current relationship between King Zilan and Emperor Yanlong, Emperor Yanlong actually personally led these two marriages, which is also intriguing, and people speculated on the meaning of it. Zhang Zizai didn't walk a few steps, and there were really all kinds of things to say. Some people said that Princess Shenxiao would turn against Princess Lingxian. Zhang Zizai laughed. These people didn't know how much he hated Shen Xiao. Some people said that Dong Yangjing was forced. She had rebelled against her father at the Six Mansions festival, and she might do something next. Some people said that if the Qingluan clan could produce a crown princess, the ranking of the 9 major clans might be raised. Some people said that if Zhang Junjian could come out, he would definitely make a big fuss, and he might have to go back in. Some people also said that Zhang Zizai became a son-in-law because Emperor Yanlong wanted him to be half a royal family member, so that he could be controlled in the future. He is now a big celebrity. No matter where he goes, there are all kinds of eyes looking at him and pointing fingers at him. In terms of strength, he is nothing in Yanlongxiu, but at this age, there is no one stronger than him in the entire Yanlong dynasty. After arriving at the Huguo mansion, he told the people in the Huguo mansion that he wanted to see Zhang Yuning. Now everyone knows him, so they let him go easily, and someone brought him to Zhang Yuning. Zhang Yuning is not here. Sister Dongyang is back today, and she went to Sister Donjiang's place. A woman who must have a high family background told Zhang Zizai. In the Huguo mansion, basically all the children of high-ranking officials, any one of them, their parents are well-known figures in the dynasty. The people inside are much more noble than the priests in the sacrifice temple. There are too many civilian geniuses in the sacrifice temple, such as Bai Shenjin and Shen Qingyu. Because of their different identities, their arrogance in their bones is also very obvious. Even a child in his teens has arrogance in his eyes. Zhang Ziban guessed that King Qingluan probably brought her back. I just heard about the morning court today. Are you here for your brother's business? The woman was a little gossipy. Zhang Zizai ignored her. Dong Yangjing's room was not far away. Zhang Zizai came to an elegant courtyard, knocked on the door, and said, "Sister Dongyang, I am Zhang Zizai. Come in." Zhang Zizai pushed the door open and went in. Sure enough, Zhang Yuning was here too. The two beauties were talking under a cherry tree in the courtyard. Seeing the resentment on Zhang Yuning's face, he knew that they already knew. "You went to the morning court today. Is everything they said true?" Zhang Yuning asked hurriedly. Zhang Zizai told her about the court and said, "Sister Dongyang, your father has already decided for you." Dong Yangjing looked a little haggard. Maybe she had been struggling for some time, which made people feel a little distressed. However, her eyes were quite firm. She said, "If he wants to be the crown princess, let him be the crown princess himself." Sure enough, she would not be willing. However, Emperor Yanlong has already set the wedding date, and this matter may not allow her. Perhaps fate will control her and leave her no room for resistance. Now, she was extremely disappointed with her father. She had expected this. "Do you think His Majesty will let your brother go?" she asked. Zhang Zizai said, "It's hard to judge, we'll know when the time comes. Doesn't he need bait to catch your father? This, I can't figure it out for the time being. Who knows what he thinks? If he can really come out, we will elope and escape to the ends of the earth, where no one can find him. Do you think he will be willing?" She suddenly burst into tears and asked Zhang Zizai, as if she was asking Zhang Junjian. Zhang Zizai said, "Sister Dongyang, he will definitely be willing. Just leave your parents and sisters to me." He knew that Zhang Junjian was a man of integrity and he would not let her down. "The only thing I don't know is when my brother can come out. If it's before the day of worshipping the gods, there will be time to prepare, but if it's after the day of worshipping the gods, it will be more difficult to deal with. Escaping from here may be a solution. The world is so big, there is always a place to stay. It's okay. Even if I die, I won't marry Long Yun. I don't care about the crown princess." Dong Yangjing wiped away her tears and smiled, as if she was saying something casual. "Sister Dongyang, I won't let you die," Zhang Zizai said seriously. Dong Yangjing smiled and didn't say anything. Zhang Zizai stayed in this courtyard for several hours. When it was almost dark, he was ready to return to the temple. There was no solution, so they chatted and exchanged ideas with each other. To be honest, it would be difficult for Dong Yangjing to resist the marriage arranged in this way. Unless she threatens her with her life and brings shame to both the royal family and the Qingluan clan, her end will not be good. Fate has already judged her, and she can still smile in response, which is already good. Zhang Zizhe refused to accept it. He wanted to change. He wanted his brother and the people he liked to be happy. No matter what, he had to find a way to fight. The revenge of his own death has not yet been avenged. Zhang Ruining basically stayed at Dong Yangjing's place at night. Zhang Zizhe left on his own. After walking out for only 2 steps, a handsome man in white came across from him. He was dressed like a scholar and was born like a jade tree in the wind. He was suave and had the demeanor of a handsome young man. A smile is enough to charm a girl. Zhang Zizhe, is your sister in there? The man in white saw him and asked with a smile. Who are you? Zhang Zizhe looked him over. He was about 18 or 19 years old and had great strength. You don't know me yet? Then introduce yourself. My name is Xiang Liashu, and Xiang Luiying, she is my sister. The man had a spring breeze-like smile on his face, free and easy. It turns out that he is the son of the Lord Protector and the grandson of the Prime Minister. It's a pleasure to meet you. What do you want from my sister? He looked at the other person. He looked very gentle on the surface, and his temperament was similar to Xiang Luiying, but he was too smooth, which made the impression not very good. Your sister didn't tell you. We are in love. We are a talented man and a beautiful woman. Soon, I will be your brother-in-law. With your family's current situation, I still defend your sister. Is that enough? You must be sick, get out of here. Zhang Yanning walked out of the room with an angry look on his face. Hey, give me some face in front of my brother, Xiang Liashu said with a smile. If you keep talking nonsense, I will report it to the palace master and get out of here. Zhang Yanning was a little offended and her voice became louder. Xiang Liashu, you are so glib, how do you expect anyone to like you? Dong Yangjing also stood beside her. Hey, the crown princess has spoken, so I'd better withdraw first, brother, and we'll get together later when we have time. He waved his fan and thought he left in a graceful manner. Zhang Zigong was still frightened, and secretly wondered why his sister fell in love with such a person. It turned out that this guy was making it up. Zhang Yanning's face was full of disgust, and she said, don't listen to his nonsense, I didn't even pay attention to him. He was just doing nothing all day long, but in fact, no one took him seriously. He walked around in romantic places every day, and his reputation was infamous. And he thought he was merry. She is unlucky. Most of those who pursue her value her beauty. Before our father's accident, he was quite well behaved. For a while, I really thought he was a reliable person. Unexpectedly, after what happened at Huangtianguan, he started to speak ill of me in front of everyone, and always avoided me when he met me. Lu Bao said he was afraid that my bad luck would affect him. Now that he sees His Majesty marrying the princess to you, he is afraid that if he contacts me now, his father and grandfather will not punish him, and he will be an eyesore again. Zhang Yanning knew that at the lowest point in life, those who not only did not help, but hid far away, and even added insult to injury, were the most disgusting. Zhang Yanning is so beautiful, it is normal for a group of people to pursue her in Huguo Mansion. She is the most beautiful woman in Daejiang County. Such rubbish. He looks quite polite, but he turns out to be such a beast. Zhang Zizhe spat. Don't worry, he can only talk nonsense. The Huguo Mansion has strict disciplines and he can't mess around. Besides, Sister Dongyang is by my side. Zizi. I have made some progress recently and am already at the 3rd level of the mysterious vein realm. She is 2 years older than Zhang Zizhe, and is only at the 3rd level of the mysterious meridian realm. She can only be regarded as above average in the protectorate mansion. However, she doesn't like martial arts too much, which is normal. If he dares to talk nonsense again within a year, I will cut out his tongue. Zhang Zizai glanced at the direction in which Xiangliushu left, then said goodbye to them and returned to the Temple of Sacrifice. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 174. Late at night, outside the Prime Minister's mansion, under a dense tree. Xiangliushu was dressed in black, hiding in the tree with his eyes closed and a smile on his face, probably thinking of something happy. He stayed here for half an hour and became a little impatient. Finally, a rustling sound came from below, and after a while, a rickety middle-aged man appeared under the tree. Master Xiangliu, the things have been brought. The middle-aged man smiled, showing his yellow teeth, and his smile was extremely lewd. Xiangliushu couldn't wait to jump down and landed in front of the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man had a black bag in his hand, which should contain a box. Xiangliushu took the box out and opened it. There was a jade bottle inside. He just took a look at it when the middle-aged man said, "Don't smell it." Xiangliushu then closed it, reinstalled it, and asked with a straight face, "Is the portion really enough?" "That's enough. Our family has been doing this business for generations and we will never cut corners. We rely on the reputation of our customers in this business." The middle-aged man laughed quickly. He looked at the box and asked, "The portion you want is so big that an elephant can handle it." "Don't talk nonsense." Xiangliushu hid the box and asked, "Are you sure that the effect of this Loren incense is indeed as miraculous as you said?" The middle-aged man said quickly, "Young master, you can rest assured. Our family has been inheriting this craft for thousands of years, and there has never been any mistakes. Anyone who is below the holy body level will easily fall into this trap and be obsessed with you. Throw yourself into your arms. This is not an ordinary ecstasy fragrance, but it can make people produce the illusion of love, which is definitely more willing than you yourself. Of course, this is what our family relies on to this day. The other party will also think that he is temporarily infatuated, and will not blame you at all. Ordinary people will not know that there is this Li Rengxiang of our Li Ren family in the world. The effects of ordinary ecstasy incense are completely different." Xiangliushu was still a little skeptical. The middle-aged man smiled and showed his yellow teeth again. He pointed at himself and said, "Master, don't doubt it. Look at the villain's appearance, isn't it ugly? However, with this Li Rengxiang in hand, you can be intimate with the villain. Yes, there are more than this number of beauties who have taken the initiative to embrace me." He raised 3 fingers, which meant more than 100. It was all voluntary. Afterwards, they just felt that it was their own fault and they couldn't blame me. "The young master is so handsome. No matter who it is, I'm afraid they just want to marry you afterwards. Okay, if the effect is not good, I will settle the score with you again." Xiangliushu coughed. "Well, young master," the middle-aged man smiled. "Take it, it's too expensive." Xiangliushu felt a little hurt and took out a bag filled with spiritual stones. All the money he had saved over the year was gone. "There is no way, things are rare and valuable. We have to go through a lot of hard work to get the materials, and the production process may take more than 3 years. Please forgive me, sir. However, if you still need it in the future, we can also give it a discount. Forget it, take the money and leave quickly, don't leave any traces in Yanlong ruins. Don't worry, sir, our family has the best professional ethics and reputation. We will never leak anything. This is the foundation of our business." "Okay, okay, okay." After the middle-aged man left, Xiangliushu smiled. "Zhang Yanning, actually, I don't want to marry you at all. I am not a fool to provoke your family at this time. I just want to get the body of you, the most beautiful woman in Zhang County. Who wants you to pretend to be noble in front of me every day? You hang out with Dong Yangjing every day, so you have to choose a suitable time. After thinking about it, he smiled. During the National Protection Banquet, there is a mixture of fish and dragons. Dong Yangjing should also perform a duel. That day is my best opportunity. To be honest, there is still some time left for the God Festival. It's just midsummer now, and it's a bit hot. By the time of the God Sacrifice Day, it's already autumn. After summer arrives, because of the hot weather, the beauties worshipping at the temple wear cooler clothes. It's really beautiful scenery wherever you go. Especially the 9 Immortals, Zhang Zizai has been practicing beside her these days. She wears a white short skirt all day long, revealing her white arms and long, round, snow-white legs. She is dangling in front of Zhang Zizai, making him dazzle. I almost have a nosebleed. Can you wear more clothes? I won't be able to practice this way. How could the vigorous young man withstand the temptation of this peerless beauty? No, I am testing your will. The growth of a strong man is not affected by women's lust. You dress like this, who wants to be a strong man and just wants to die on your belly? That's life. Are you complimenting me on my beauty in disguise? She's good looking, but she's a bit old. Wow. I'll chop you to death, you idiot. Zhang Zizai liked to see her furious. This time she grabbed her longa sword and passed it through his inner thigh with a playful sound. What a risk. It almost scared him to the point of peeing. Damn it, you don't want happiness for the rest of your life, his eyes widened. I am here to help you get rid of the desires that affect your cultivation. If I cut them off, you will have no desires, and you will become a peerless strong man. Then I would rather be a weak chicken who can kill anyone. Zhang Zizai endured it. He really resisted the temptation of this beauty and calmed down to practice. As a result, the weather was even hotter the next day, and her skirt was shorter and a little transparent. It was a style that Zhang Zizai had never seen before, and her snow-white skin was looming among the grids. This is a little wedding dress I made myself. Doesn't it look good? People here dress too conservatively, which makes it difficult for me to wear it when I go out. I can only let you admire it. She was very happy after putting it on, spinning around in front of Zhang Zizai, jumping for joy like a little girl. To be honest, it was so beautiful that Zhang Zizai couldn't help but gulp down a mouthful of saliva. I don't know where this wedding dress comes from. Although it is strange that there are many mesh holes on it, as if it is torn, but it is precisely because of this that her skin can be vaguely seen, which makes it even more charming. It looks good, but it's too small here and a bit tight. Let me loosen it for you. Zhang Zizai pointed to her chest. She really underestimated herself. She made it so tight and it made her panic. Stop it, you bastard. What a shame, I really want to help you, Zhang Zizai said helplessly. Who wants your help? You're so lewd, Juxian pouted and cursed, looking so cute. You are going to marry someone else. When can you put me in a wedding dress? After a while, she looked at herself resentfully. This dress is too white. It was not worn when getting married. You need to wear bright red when getting married. You are too exposed. You can't let others see it, Zhang Zizai said with a headache. Big red, you know big red, she glared at Zhang Zizai, and then said, okay, let's start practicing. Thus, a struggle, ambiguity, and vivid dual cultivation began again. Zhang Zizai occasionally stopped to look at her. Under the light, the snow-white little wedding dress set off her perfect figure, her crystal-clear skin, delicate facial features, and voluptuous red lips were also moving, as if she was really getting married tonight. In fact, this wedding dress is really beautiful, if only it could be more conservative. Zhang Zizai thinks so, because the chest is indeed a bit tight. Later in the night, she suddenly muttered. What's wrong? Zhang Zizai asked. The weather is so hot, I don't want to wear this one anymore. Wouldn't that mean there's nothing left? Don't be like this, I'm still a child, Zhang Zizai said righteously. A peaceful month passed during the devil training. Zhang Zizai successfully opened his fifth profound vein and gave birth to the wind prison heavenly dragon Truchi. After reaching the fifth level of the mysterious Meridian realm, his strength has skyrocketed again. I believe that by this time, it will no longer be a problem to easily defeat Princess Shenxiao head-on. At the same time, after spending an hour thinking about it every day for a month, he finally succeeded in creating the first soul talisman. He tried it and used it on the 9 Immortals. The 9 Immortals said that the effect was terrifying. As long as he has enough soul calming talisman, he will have more to rely on during the battle. Although his strength has improved significantly, Zhang Zizai feels that it is not enough and he must continue to improve. Next, the 9 Immortals gave him a new task. A low-grade moon-level battle technique, Dragon Stealing Sword Technique. Real, moon-level battle tactics. There are 3 moves in total, which are much more powerful than Baidu's sword control. Zhang Zizai made a plan for himself to complete it in 1 month. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 175. The Dragon Robbery Sword Art is a moon-level battle art that few people in the temple will touch. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. Because this battle art can be said to be extremely picky. A person who is completely suitable can exert 200% of the lethality, but a person who is not suitable can only exert 30% at most. Juxian had already selected it long ago, and was just waiting for Zhang Zizai to reach the basic level of cultivation. On the road of cultivation, she escorted Zhang Zizai throughout the whole process. It is not an exaggeration to say that Zhang Zizai is the cabbage she planted. In fact, there are very few people who are suitable for the dragon robbery sword art, so for thousands of years, almost no one has practiced it. If it is not perfectly controlled, no one will waste time on the dragon robbery sword art. Mainly because the special feature of the dragon robbery sword art is that it requires people who can control 3 completely different attributes such as fire, thunder, and ice in the totem to exert its true power. There are 3 tribulations in the dragon robbery sword art. The sword of the 3 tribulations is extremely powerful, like a tribulation from heaven. They are, the first tribulation, Fire Dragon Prison. The second tribulation, Ice Dragon Thorn, and the third tribulation, Thunder Dragon Annihilation. In the entire dynasty, there are very few totems that can possess these 3 attributes, almost none, and even if it is just a relatively low attribute, it is difficult to gather them together. And Zhang Zizai's ability lies in that he basically has no attributes that are not compatible. From cultivation to now, he is good at all battle tactics. This may be one of the characteristics of his totem. Ordinary people can indeed choose to practice any one of the 3, Fire Dragon Prison, Ice Dragon Thorn and Thunder Dragon Annihilation, but in fact they can only exert 1/3 of the power of this battle tactic. The strongest power of the dragon robbery sword art requires the 3 tribulations to be connected to explode. The collision of attributes and the sword intent of the 3 tribulations and 3 dragons are the foundation of this moon-level battle tactic. So this dragon robbery sword art is almost like it was designed for Zhang Zizai. In the following time, while continuing to improve his realm, he began to practice the dragon robbery sword art, and basically spent all his daytime time on it. Although the practice during the day was bitter and tiring, the dual cultivation life at night was fragrant and sweet. With the charm of Juxian, the practice life was harmonious, and the days were very happy. He was making progress every day. Princess Shenxiao did not bother him again. Princess Lingxian was said to rarely go to the Holy Dragon Palace. But the day of worshipping the gods on the 5th day of September was getting closer and closer. Another month had passed, and Zhang Zizai had already practiced the Fire Dragon Prison of the Dragon Robbery Sword art as expected. The Fire Dragon Prison changed on him, and the flames all turned black and became more destructive. When practicing the second Robbery Ice Dragon Thorn, there was a little problem, that is, the 5 mysterious veins that Zhang Zizai had opened at present did not have the true Qi of Ice attribute. This resulted in that although he had already honed the sword art of the Ice Dragon Thorn itself, he lacked the true Qi of Ice, and the power was less than half of the Fire Dragon Prison. In battle, it was a bit useless for the time being. He does have Thunder Dragon Qi, and he has started practicing the 3 Tribulations Thunder Dragon Annihilation, but he knows that even if he succeeds in practicing Thunder Dragon Annihilation, the power of the Ice Dragon Stab in the middle will be poor, the 3 moves cannot be connected, there is a gap in the middle, and the power of the Dragon Tribulation Sword will also decrease. Fortunately, the 6th level of the 9 Heavens Dragon Pulse Fixation Technique is to open the Mysterious Ice Dragon Mysterious Veins and nurture the Mysterious Ice Dragon Qi. When I reach the 6th level of the Mysterious Veins realm, the power of the Ice Dragon Stab will reach its peak level. Next, I will continue to sprint to a new realm and practice Thunder Dragon Annihilation at the same time. In any case, he has the 5th level of the Mysterious Veins realm and the Dragon Tribulation Sword Technique Fire Dragon Prison, which is already stronger than the 6 Prefectures Festival. It has been 2 months since the wedding was confirmed. Not only Zhang Zizai has made progress, but Lu Dingxing and Ruo Xiaoyu, who have the heavenly grade totem, have also made great progress. Especially Lu Dingxing, who has been practicing day and night with Yuan Qingguyin. After 2 months, he has reached the 2nd level of the Mysterious Veins realm. Under the guidance of Grandma Nianhua, Ruo Xiaoyu, a little girl, reached the Xuanmei realm at the age of 13. Zhang Zizai and she are both about to have birthdays, and both of them will be 1 year older soon. Baishanjin and Wanqian are Earth-level totems after all. Although both of them work hard, it is still difficult to make progress at present. On the front battlefield, Lu Dingxing's totem advantage was fully demonstrated. He had competed with Baishanjin, and Baishanjin was no longer his opponent. The Wancha of the priest and Ran was also defeated by Lu Dingxing. As long as the totem level is high, one day it will rise. Lu Dingxing's future still has infinite space. Zhang Zizai calculated that it is now the 6th day of July. In 2 months, he will become the imperial prince consort. The Flame Dragon Emperor has no news about releasing Zhang Junjian. Princess Ruohua has inquired and asked in many ways, but it is not known what the Flame Dragon Emperor is up to for the time being. On this day, Zhang Zizai was still practicing, and Zhang Yuning came to the Temple of Sacrifice. She would come to see her brothers and sisters almost every few days. 3 days later, the Huguo mansion will hold a Huguo banquet. Do you want to go and see it? She asked Zhang Zizai. What is the Huguo banquet? It is the Huguo mansion's assessment of elite disciples. Elite disciples are equivalent to the priests of the temple. They are generally over 15 years old and under 20 years old. At that time, the Huguo mansion will invite the princes and ministers of the dynasty to the banquet to watch the cultivation results of their children. A banquet, all the princes and ministers are present, and then they watch their children's cultivation results. It is also an occasion for competition. If the children are talented, the parents will definitely be proud. Do you want to participate? Zhang Zizai knew that she was already an elite disciple. The 3rd level of the Xuanmei realm is considered average among elite disciples. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Zhang Yuning shook her head and smiled, Sister, how can I have this ability? However, Sister Dongyang will participate, and she has the hope of getting good results. I heard that the prince and the Qingluan king will be there that day, and I am afraid that they will say something to annoy Sister Dongyang, and then it will be unhappy. Dongyang Jing is soft on the outside and strong on the inside. If those two get together, plus a group of people make a fuss, it is not certain that Dongyang Jing will be forced into a corner. Zhang Zizai thought for a moment and nodded, I'll go and see when the time comes. If there are any problems, I can still help. Well, okay, I'm also afraid that I can't handle it myself. Now you are much more capable than your sister, Zhang Yuning said with peace of mind. Zhang Zizai smiled and said, Sister, just be responsible for beauty, and leave the rest to your brother. She doesn't like fighting and likes quietness. It's a pity that fate played a joke on her, but even so, Zhang Zizai wants her to live the life she likes, not to bear so much pressure, and be beautiful all the time. Zhang Zizai is not afraid of fighting. He is now eager to fight, so he leaves everything to himself. When the time comes, just come to me directly. Zhang Yuning said goodbye. Zhang Zizai continued to practice. In the evening, Juxian came again. The weather was too hot and she was wearing a mini skirt. Out of sight, out of mind. He raised his arm to look at his triceps, which had been pinched and swollen. If he looked at it a few more times, he would be pinched again. He wanted to cry but had no tears. Does this outfit look good today? I've asked the tailor to make a lot of clothes recently. Looks good. The styles of her clothes are really good, youthful, and hot. There is no denim material here, this is an imitation denim short skirt. How about it? She turned in front of Zhang Zizai, showing her little skirt. I think it will look better without wearing it. Zhang Zizai only looked at her legs. What's so good about the skirt? Damn hooligan. Juxian blushed, looking charming, but Zhang Zizai knew her routine and was about to become a tigress and press on her. In the relaxed laughter and cultivation, another night passed. At dawn the next day, Lu Dingxing rushed in breathlessly like a madman, and saw Zhang Zizai helping Juxian button the back of her clothes. The style of her clothes was too strange, and some buttons needed help. I was wrong, Lu Dingxing quickly retreated. Damn bear, remember to knock on the door next time, Juxian cursed inside. After a while, Zhang Zizai came out. He knew that Lu Dingxing was so anxious, there must be something wrong. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 176. He came to Lu Dingxing's room next door and asked, What's the matter? Lu Dingxing was a little out of breath, not nervous, but confused and excited. Boss, I'm dreaming. Zhang Zizai smiled and said, You are already a grown man. It is normal to have erotic dreams. That's not it? I dreamed about your father. Do you have such a strong taste? Zhang Zizai was confused. Boss, have you learned bad things from the priests? Lu Dingxing was about to burst into tears. What was he thinking? Just kidding, by the way, dreaming is not normal, what can I say? He actually knew that Lu Dingxing was under a lot of pressure recently, so he wanted to use these methods to pull him out of his hatred. A gentleman's revenge is never too late, there is no need to wallow in pain. Lu Dingxing said, It's different. I have never had such a real dream. In the dream, he took me to the glacier lake outside Yanlong ruins. He kept telling me, I'm sorry, and later he said, I will give this thing to seeing that you have a great future, I believe your father can rest in peace. Hearing this, Zhang Zizai's mind suddenly exploded. On the day before the festival, he dreamed of his father handing him a black box. Inside was a black dragon holding flower petals in its mouth. The next day, he really got the black dragon totem, and the black dragon totem still had flower petals in its mouth. This is no coincidence at all. His black dragon totem must be related to that dream. But today, Lu Dingxing also dreamed of Zhang Yunting, and what he said was so true. What did he give you in the dream? No wonder Lu Dingxing was so anxious. Lu Dingxing said, the source of evolution, the fourth level evolutionary source, is called God and Demon. He said that it will allow me to achieve the desolate level totem and have the God and Demon Panda totem. It is an ancient evolutionary source, and he originally left it to me brother Junjian's, but he said that he has good fortune and can't use it. The name of the gods and demons evolutionary source is quite old, and it is a 4th level evolutionary source. If it can be matched, its effectiveness will be simply terrifying. However, this is a dream after all. Whether it is real or not, just take a trip to the Glacier Lake. Let's go to Glacier Lake, Zhang Zizai said. Although it was a dream, he felt that he could take the risk because he had obtained the Black Dragon Totem. Only on us? I heard that the Glacier Lake is frozen all year round. It takes 10 feet of ice to break through to get into the water. That box is deep in the center of the Glacier Lake, Lu Dingxing said. Zhang Zizai thought for a while and asked, "Can you trust the 9 Immortals?" Lu Dingxing smiled and said, "You are all inseparable, so of course you believe me." Zhang Zizai went back to the 9 Immortals and told the story again. "You also believe in dreams?" "What a silly boy," Juxian chuckled after hearing this. "Don't worry about it, just come with me." "Hey, do you want to order me?" "Hurry up, otherwise I won't judge anything you wear in the future." Zhang Zizai knew how much she enjoyed when she wore something and then had herself praised. Being threatened by him, 9 Immortals suddenly became energetic and said, "I was just kidding. As a priest, of course I am willing to serve my dear priests." Of course, she still didn't believe it in her heart. If she could find the source of evolution in a dream, then she would have a mountain of evolutionary sources. The 3 of them quietly arrived outside Yanlong ruins, then rode their horses to the north for 80 miles, climbing up mountains one after another. At the top of each peak, they finally found a glacier lake. It was a tianke. It was midsummer, and there was actually deep ice in the glacier lake. You wouldn't fall into the lake if you walked on it. "Follow me." Lu Dingxing seemed to know the place. He walked on this glacier lake. He searched for a long time, thought hard, and said, "I remember this is here." He broke the ice here and went down to get the black one. The box, "I remember the glacier pattern here, you see it's marked, it's a flower." Zhang Zizai took a closer look and was shocked. "Isn't this the imperial peony totem of Princess Ruohua? On the glacier, there is a peony flower in full bloom. No wonder Lu Dingxing's memory can find it here. The peonies under their feet were carved by swords. The marks are very deep, but they will probably be filled with ice in a few days. If it weren't for Zhang Yunting, who would have painted the imperial peony totem here? It's this flower. It's exactly the same as in the dream," Lu Dingxing said firmly. Is it so mysterious? I thought it was a fantasy blockbuster, but didn't expect it to be a suspense movie." Zhu Xian couldn't believe it. "Is this a fancy show of affection from my father?" Zhang Zizai didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he saw so many peonies carved so lifelike. "I don't believe it's really that mysterious. Get out of the way." Juxian could just go in by herself. She asked Zhang Zizai and the others to get out of the way. Then, white flames appeared on her palms. The flames turned into a huge white fireball and fell on the glacier. The peony flower's scratches began to melt. The ice is also constantly melting. This was the first time Zhang Zizai saw her take action. To be honest, he still didn't know what state she was in. After a while, the glacier melted and created a hole. Standing on the edge and looking down, you can see the flowing water below. "Be careful when you go down, it's too cold," Zhang Zizai said with concern. "Do you want to see my wet body?" Juxian said with a smile. Zhang Zizai immediately thought of Princess Shenxiao. Did she see it? What a beautiful thought! Before Zhang Zizai could answer, a hazy light appeared on her body, shrouding her in it, and the water below could not touch her at all. In the blink of an eye, she went down, and Zhang Zizai and the two stood on the glacier, looking at each other, waiting quietly and nervously. "Boss, do you think it's possible?" Lu Dingxing asked. Zhang Zizai said, 100%. "So sure?" He actually doesn't have to do this. Neither my father nor I will blame him. If he appears one day, I think that for a person like him, even if my father commits suicide, it will be worth it, Lu Dingxing said. Panda, let him make up for it, so maybe he can feel more at ease, Zhang Zizai said seriously. Lu Dingxing nodded. Boss, I miss Monkey a little. If he hadn't been like that, the three of us could continue to practice together in the Temple of Sacrifice. Maybe he also has a better totem. Zhang Zizai also thought of him occasionally. After all, they had grown up together and played together for so many years. Everyone has his own destiny. He patted Lu Dingxing's shoulder and said, actually, I don't know how to face you at these times. If it weren't for my father, your father would definitely not leave. Lu Dingxing said excitedly, what are you talking about? If it weren't for your father's cultivation, my father would have died without knowing when, and I would never have been born. My father has always said that your kindness to him is so great that I will be determined in my life we need to help him repay him well. Boss, we all know who the enemy is, so don't think so. Okay, Zhang Zizai stretched out his hand and slapped his palm heavily together. We brothers will avenge Uncle Lu together from now on. The two young hands held each other tightly. It's okay, why are you being sensational? It's so heavy that two grown men don't know how to help me. As soon as they agreed, the voice of the 9 immortals came from the ice cave. Zhang Zizai hurriedly went up, and suddenly a black figure hit him. When it came out, he hurriedly caught it. Lu Dingxing looked at it and said in shock, it's this box, exactly like in my dream. As soon as Zhu Xian jumped out, she said speechlessly, dreams can become reality, damn it. Open it and take a look. You think it's an iPhone inside, but maybe it's a box of bacon fried rice. I've seen this kind of routine before. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 177. Zhang Zizai put the black box on the glacier. Although Juxian still doubted, he was 100% sure in his heart. Level 4 evolution source, his father was really generous. However, Zhang Zizai could understand his desire to make up for his regrets and help the son of an old friend have a brighter future. Zhang Zizai's hands were shaking a little, and he opened the box. After opening it, he found that there were 3 boxes in the box. No, there was only one in the dream, Lu Dingxing asked in confusion. In the dream, there was only 1 box, but here it turned into 3. Really, maybe it's 3 boxes of lunch, Juxian said with a chuckle. Zhang Zizai picked up the box on the far left, and before he opened it, he found that there was a piece of paper under the box. He quickly picked it up, and saw that it was written, Level 3 Evolution Source Wuji, your friend named Baishanjin should be able to use it. This is my father's handwriting, Zhang Zizai shouted excitedly, he was too familiar with it. Wuji, Juxian was stunned for a moment, took the box from Zhang Zizai, and closed it as soon as she opened it. She had a wonderful expression and said, it's really Wuji. Zhang Zizai had learned about this evolution source Wuji. Its properties are relatively narrow and it is difficult to find a suitable one. It sounds like it has nothing to do with Baishanjin, but this is prepared by Zhang Yunting. He is probably more evolution source than anyone else. Since he said so, the problem is obviously not big. Wuji's characteristics seem to be able to confuse the environment and make the true Qi have a great ability to reverse. This is a domain-type evolution source. Maybe it can really strengthen Baishanjin's wind and fire domain. Juxian was a little surprised. She looked at Zhang Zizai and gritted her teeth and said, your father is too generous. Why is he so partial? I have served his son for so long, but I didn't get a gift. Baishanjin just flattered me a few times. Why is he partial? She was envious when she saw it. Maybe he doesn't have much stock now. Don't worry, there will be one for you in the future. If he doesn't give it to you, I will. Zhang Zizai patted his chest and said confidently. He knew that the one in the middle must be the fourth level evolution source god and demon. So, he picked up the box on the right, and there was a note underneath, which read, Level 3 Evolution Source Dream, for Xuanhuan. This is simple and direct. Obviously, he is absolutely sure that the evolution source dream is absolutely suitable for Xuanhuan. Your father is really good at choosing. This is simply an evolution source born for little bugs. The characteristics of dream can increase the psychedelic effect of his pupil technique. In the future, he will directly practice illusion with his eyes. There is a bright future Juxi inside. Zhang Zizai didn't expect that he gave the evolution source left for Zhang Junjian to Lu Dingxing and gave it to Zhang Zizai's two new friends. Such a gift that can change his life. He is so generous, so careful, and so courageous. No wonder Lu Yuan would follow him like this. Zhang Zizai originally thought that he would disappear forever, but he did not expect that he would appear at the 6 prefectures grand meeting, and now, he reappeared. Perhaps, he has been guarding them in the dark all the time. He lifted the box in the middle, and sure enough, there was a note with only 2 words, God and Demon. Juxian opened it and saw a stone inside, black on the left and white on the right, a mixture of black and white, weird, deep, ancient, and terrifyingly powerful. Just a glance, although it is just a stone, it can make people imagine it as a terrifying ancient beast roaring at the sky. The value of this evolution source is higher than Tai Chi. If Lu Dingxing is really suitable, then his cultivation talent may be higher than yours in a short time. Lian Juxian looked at the god and demon and her voice trembled a little when she spoke. This is an evolution source that can make the gods and their level tremble with their hands. Your father is really, when can I wait for him to give me a gift? It makes me want to marry you now. Juxian really can't hide her envy. She looked at Zhang Zizai, really disappointed. Why is your father so awesome, but you can't produce anything? She wanted to cry but had no tears. My father has been around for decades, I'm still young. When I reach his age, believe it or not, I will give you the evolution source of the whole world, Zhang Zizai said. You can say it, Panda, as a witness. If you can't do it by then, you know what the end will be, he. In fact, if it were someone with selfish desires, maybe they would want to kill them at this time, take the treasure and leave. Juxian just grumbled a few words of envy. Put it away quickly. Zhang Zizai put it in the space jade pendant for safety. Lu Dingxing was still dreaming, and asked, Boss, I'm not still in the dream last night, am I? Do you want me to slap you in the face, so that you can feel whether it is a dream or reality now? Zhang Zizai asked. He nodded and said, Come on, I'm afraid I'll wake up in bed while laughing. Pa! This slap made him dizzy. He laughed until his face turned red, and finally believed it. On the way back, Zhang Zizai was thinking about another problem. If the totems of the 3 of you evolve successfully, especially the panda, whose totem suddenly reaches such a high level, will the Flame Dragon Emperor suspect that only my father can take out such a totem and target you 3? In this case, you 3 will have trouble in the future. He didn't want to involve them in his own affairs. The totem level was too high, which was indeed too annoying. If the Flame Dragon Emperor knew that it was arranged by Zhang Yunting, he might take some precautions. For example, assassinate him casually to prevent Lu Dingxing from growing up and seeking revenge on him. Juxian said, This is simple. After you go back, you should try to evolve immediately. After the end, I will find the god servant. When the dust settles, I will let her say that she gave it to you. After all, the 2 third-level evolution sources are not full attributes, so they are not too precious. The sacrifice temple can afford it. As for the god and demon, she can probably make up a reason. Is the god servant willing to do this? Your father gave geniuses to the sacrifice temple for free. She would laugh in her dreams. Why not? Of course, the premise is that you should evolve first to prevent her from snatching it. Act first and report later, it is foolproof. Sacrifice Master, please trouble you, Lu Dingxing said. You're welcome. Use more evolution sources to honor me in the future. After returning to the temple, Juxian asked them to try to evolve first, and Zhang Zizai summoned Baishanjin and Wanqian. Zhang Zizai said it directly, this was a gift from his father. Ruo Xiaoyu was here too, although she didn't have hers, she was still very happy. After all, she was still young, and Zhang Yunting probably didn't have a suitable one, not even Zhang Yuning, who was still a Xian-level totem. A Tian-level totem at this age is quite rare in itself. Can we also have a Tian-level totem? Bai Shenjin was stunned, his expression exaggerated, and said, Boss, don't joke with me, if you do this again, I will take away your virginity. Take it, this is a gaseous evolution source, if you let it run away, I will kill you, Zhang Zizai said. He opened it and his eyes widened. Then he prostrated himself and shouted, Boss, where is your father? From now on, your father is my father. If you pass away, I will take good care of him for you. You, Zhang Zizai kicked him out while he was screaming with excitement. How can I receive a gift like King Zilan? Wan Qian held the box with a very tangled expression. You don't want it? Give it to me, so I can pick up girls. Bei Shanjin reached out to grab it. Get lost, Wan Qian quickly put it away. Don't be polite to the boss. Anyway, I've made up my mind. If someone in this world treats me so well, then my cheap life, including my ass, will belong to him, right, boss? Get lost. I'm not interested in your ass, Zhang Zizai said disdainfully. Don't, I might be more tender and delicious than the priest. Wouldn't you consider getting to know me? Bei Shanjin looked at him hopefully. You, my sister is here, don't talk nonsense. Zhang Zizai wanted to hold him down and beat him up. Poor Ruo Xiaoyu, she tilted her head beside him and had no idea what they were talking about. Take it, Zhang Zizai patted Wanqian on the shoulder. Okay, Wanqian took it, his eyes were firm, although not as exaggerated as Bai Shenjin said, but he was a grateful person. He remembered clearly who had been kind to him over the years. He also remembered who had humiliated him. The heaven-level totem, that was a life-changing favor, he would remember it for the rest of his life. They each returned to their own room. Zhang Zizai asked Ruo Xiaoyu to keep watch and not let others go in to disturb them. An evolution, not knowing whether it would succeed, and not knowing when it would take. I once heard that someone's totem evolution took a year, which was indeed a bit scary. After all, it was not a full attribute evolution source, and there was still a great possibility of failure. Among them, the most suitable should be Wanqian, Lu Dingxing and Bai Shenjin, both had about half the possibility of failure. This was analyzed by Juxian through their situation. Therefore, treasures are treasures, and whether you can enjoy them depends on your luck. For 2 or 3 days, the three of them had not made any moves. One day, when night fell, Zhang Zizai remembered that Zhang Yuning asked him to go to the Huguo mansion to attend the Huguo banquet. I almost forgot. He hurried out and arrived at the Huguo banquet when night fell completely. The grand Huguo banquet was about to begin. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 178. There is no moon or stars tonight, and the sky and the earth are dark. If you were in a place like a glacier lake in the wild, you would definitely be unable to see. But in Yanlong ruins and Huguo mansion, it shines particularly brightly because of the bright lights everywhere. Tonight, the Protectorate mansion is very lively. Not only the big shots from the entire dynasty will gather here, but also the top elite disciples of the Protectorate mansion will perform in a competition. It is considered to be the largest grand event in the Protectorate mansion. The Temple of Sacrifice also has priest assessments, but it is more formal, rather than in the form of the Protectorate. This has something to do with the characteristics of the Protectorate. After all, it is the cradle of the heirs of princes and ministers. At a banquet, the princes and ministers were talking and laughing, watching the competition between their children, and the undercurrent was surging. The struggle for power in the court was transformed into a competition between descendants. There are alliances, and there are enemies. None of this has anything to do with Zhang Zizhe. He shuttled through the bustling protectorate and came to Zhang Yanning. She had been waiting for a long time and said, "I knew you would be late." "It's okay, sister, but we can't let other girls wait blindly. Only my sister dares to be late." "I don't want to let the others wait," Zhang Zizhe said with a smile. Zhang Yanning made him laugh. She made some preparations and said, "Sister Dongyang has already gone. We can just keep an eye on her outside. It should be fine in public." The two of them headed to the place where the National Protector banquet was held. Today was a grand gathering of elite disciples. Young disciples under the age of 15 were not eligible to go here. Zhang Yanning was leading some of the most influential figures in the dynasty, so naturally no one could stop them. Standing here, the lights are brightly lit in front, and a large number of banquets are formed in a circle. When Zhang Zizhe arrived, the princes and ministers of the dynasty were already seated. They are still the protagonists of the National Protection Banquet. People like Zhang Zizhe and Zhang Yanning can only watch from a distance and are not allowed to get close to make noise in front of these elders. Only the participants will sit next to their parents, waiting for the opportunity to perform. The banquet for protecting the country has not yet started. Some beautiful disciples are serving the banquet. They have almost arrived. The top leader is naturally the head of the palace, Xiang Luzheng, who is the host today. As for the guests, if you take a closer look, they are really quite big. The highest status person is the current Duke of Bao. The status of the Duke is second only to the Prince. There are also two lieutenants, Zhenqiu Taiwei and Yushi Taiwei, who are the highest positions among civil servants who govern the country. There are also many civil servants with strong martial arts training, such as the Minister of Military Affairs, and some city lord-level figures in nearby cities, such as the Lord of Xianying City near Yanlong Ruins. Of course, also had generals from various parties present, such as Nangongke, the high-status Zhengzi general. In a few months, Nangongke, who was hit by a thunderbolt by King Zilan, has recovered. However, people's eyes will inadvertently fall on the empty sleeve of his left hand. His arm was chopped off on the spot by Zhang Zizhe, a junior. He was cut off and could never come back. It is said that his combat effectiveness was greatly reduced as a result. This was the shame of Nangongque's life. It was unknown how many times he had secretly thought of ways to take revenge on Zhang Zizhe. There was no doubt that he wanted to kill Zhang Zizhe more than anyone else now, and Zhang Zizhe was also extra careful about him. At this time, Nangongke had forgotten his pain and was toasting with the princes and ministers, chatting enthusiastically. Zhang Zizhe also saw two people, who were also important people. Their status here was no worse than that of the Leopard Kingdom. One was Dongyang Jing's father, King Qingluan. Dongyang Jing was sitting on his right now, and on his left was Dongyang Jing. There was a golden banquet table, and the current Prince Longyun was sitting there. He was smiling broadly, accepting flattery from ministers from all walks of life. After all, he was the future emperor, and not many people wanted to support him. The prince, King Qingluan, and Dongyang Jing appeared here. Thinking about the wedding in 2 months, they will obviously become the focus of people's discussion. Originally, the ministers were discussing whose descendants had the most outstanding talents, and then they came to Dongyang Jing's body. King Qingluan teaches his daughter well, which is enviable. Xiaojing has such cultivation at such a young age. There is almost no one in the Huguo mansion who can match her at the same age. Although Bao Qiagong is not young, he is still fair-haired and childlike. Bright. King Qingluan said quickly, "The Duke has betrayed me." The Duke's grandson Gongsun Lai is a young talent. When he reaches Xiaojing's age, he will be even better than Xiaojing. Duke Bao said with a smile, no, the children in our family generally do not perform well in this generation. Even Xiao Lai is still a little worse than Xiang Luiying of the same age. They clearly know who is the strongest in this age group, but they don't say it, which makes everyone feel embarrassed. Li Hongyuan, the son of Lieutenant Zhenqiu, will definitely perform well tonight. I heard that there are not many opponents in the 7th level of the Xuanmei realm. It's still Wu Dongtian Qiang, the son of Tai Weiyishi. The reason why they were invited was because they had heirs to protect the state banquet. Bailey Thornheart is also very good. By the way, there is also the daughter of the Lord of Xianying City. They are all influential figures in the 7th level of Xuanmei realm. I'm afraid you don't know that the strongest person tonight is actually the palace master's son. Xiang Liashu, let me tell you, have you reached the 8th level of the Xianvein realm? Nangongke asked. Xiang Liashu, who was fluttering in white clothes, was staying next to Xiang Liujhan. When Nangongke talked about himself, he quickly smiled and said, back to the general, this junior has indeed reached the 8th level, but his realm is not stable and he cannot display much strength. Tonight there must be someone stronger than me who can take down the leader of the National Protection Banquet. You are young and too humble, Nangongke said while drinking, without any etiquette. Xiang Liashu couldn't help but laugh. When he saw everyone looking at him with admiration, he had an idea and said, don't forget, His Highness the Crown Prince is beside you. To say that he is the number one person in his age group, His Highness the Crown Prince is the one who deserves the title. As far as I know, His Royal Highness has entered the Holy Body realm a month ago. Everyone was in an uproar, but in fact some powerful people had already seen it, but they didn't say anything. The prince smiled and said, don't praise me, my qualifications are still dull. I have suffered a lot for the Holy Body realm, but I finally succeeded. Nangongke said with a smile, the prince is really humble. He has achieved the Holy Body realm at this age. He is a genius. Who can compare with him? Zhang Junjian of Dajiangqing City has already entered the Holy Body realm, but he entered Tahe in prison. I'm afraid I haven't made any progress for a long time. I'm afraid I've been ruined by the cold air entering my body all day long. He said this just to let people know that Zhang Junjian was no longer the prince's opponent. Also to let the prince have a good time. Long Yun laughed hoarsely and said, to be honest, Zhang Junjian is still very good. If we compete normally, I may not be able to catch up with him. It's a pity that he made a wrong move and destroyed himself. Maybe this is fate. Anyway, he is a respectable opponent. The prince is majestic and admirable. Another flattery slapped him, making him laugh. After reaching the Holy Body realm, the prince's future is stable again. Many people know that the Holy Body realm and the mysterious vein are two realms, and they can be regarded as reaching the sky in one step. Don't talk about me anymore. Today's protagonists are still the geniuses of the Protectorate Palace. The time is almost here, Lord. Let us feast our eyes on it, right? He looked at Dong Yangjing with a smile and said, today, I still want to see, what has Xiaojing gained from her efforts these days? Dong Yangjing didn't squint her eyes and ignored him. People laughed and booed. It turns out that the crown prince is most concerned about the princess. Yes. As soon as Xiang Liashu saw it, he knew that even if he won the first place, he would give the first place to Dong Yangjing today. Being the first to protect the country at the banquet is not his purpose. His eyes wandered outside. Suddenly, he saw Zhang Yanning among the crowd and couldn't help but smile. You dressed up so beautifully today. Did you know that you would be favored by me? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 179. Zhang Yuning was a little overthinking. Perhaps the Crown Prince Longyun didn't want Dong Yangjing to be too annoying, so he didn't annoy her. The National Protection Banquet went smoothly. On the surface, the National Protection Mansion was mainly for entertaining the princes and ministers. The competition among the younger generation was just to entertain the banquet. Of course, the real core was the competition among the younger generation. The first place in the National Protection Banquet was actually a very important title, and there was enough capital to serve the dynasty in the future. Under Xiang Liuzhen's arrangement, the talented elite disciples of the National Protection Mansion fought through a continuous elimination mechanism. After the early tests, the National Protection Mansion selected a total of 16 people. Now they are fighting in pairs. If they can experience a wave of 4 consecutive wins, they can get the first place. The top 3 seem to have top rewards, and the value is not much worse than the Tai Chi that Zhang Zizai got last time. Dong Yangjing's totem is the earth-level totem Snow Eyes Blue Luan totem. When fighting, her eyes are like a world of ice and snow. Her totem is a blue bird, as gorgeous as a phoenix. When fighting, she is elegant and moving. When she easily won, she was naturally praised. The Crown Prince Longyun and the Blue Luan King were all smiling. The 16 people in the National Defense Banquet were naturally stronger than Zhang Zizai. He watched with relish. The combat experience of these seniors helped him a lot. Normally, Sister Dan Jiang's level should be in the top 3. She had the hope of being the first. Since Yang Liushu has reached the 8th level of the Xuanmei realm, she should have no hope of being the first, Zhang Yuning said. Zhang Zizai glanced at Xiang Liushu, and he ran to the side of the Crown Prince and chatted with him. The two should have grown up together and were about the same age. They probably had a very good relationship and were talking and laughing at this time. Not necessarily. Zhang Zizai squinted his eyes. You mean, he will give the Crown Prince this face and give the honor of the champion of the National Defense Banquet to Sister Dong Yang? Zhang Yuning asked. Looking at the current state of Xiang Liushu, Zhang Zizai felt that it was almost certain. Suddenly, he found someone looking at him from behind. Zhang Zizai looked back and saw a girl in a light golden dress standing in the light. She looked at Zhang Zizai with warm eyes and said, I heard that you have reached the 5th level of the Xuanmei realm. She also came to attend the National Defense Banquet today. She was dressed solemnly. If her expression was not so cold, she would be more beautiful. It's none of your business, Zhang Zizai said. Zizai, how can you be so rude to the princess? Zhang Yuning hurriedly said to the girl, Princess, I'm so sorry, my brother is talking nonsense, please don't argue with him. Princess Shenxiao looked at him with fiery eyes. For 2 months, I have practiced hard without sleep and food, and have already practiced to the 7th level of Xuanmei realm. I want to challenge you again and decide the real victory or defeat with you. The 7th level of Xuanmei realm, Zhang Zizai was a little surprised. She was indeed a wild level totem. Her practice speed was also quite fast. She was 4 or 5 years younger than the Crown Prince Longyun, but there was only a 3-level difference in realm. According to her progress, when she reached the age of the Crown Prince, she would be at least the 3rd or 4th level of the Holy Body realm, which was even more amazing than Zhang Junjian. In martial arts practice, Zhang Zizai really did not dare to underestimate her who had a wild level totem. The battle at the 6 prefectures grand meeting was very difficult. Some other day, I don't have time now. Zhang Zizai acknowledged her talent, but it did not mean that he had to accommodate her. It's just an excuse for the fear in my heart. After the National Defense Banquet, I will wait for you at Nalan Mountain west of the National Defense Mansion. If you don't come, you are not a man. She couldn't stand the defeat in that battle. After this successful breakthrough, she couldn't wait to find her own confidence in Zhang Zizai. Only by defeating him, maybe she can break through the magic barrier and restore her normal state of mind. She didn't want to let Zhang Zizai oppress her like this. After saying that, she went to the National Defense Banquet. Princess Shenxiao came, and Xiangliu was busy preparing a seat. She actually came to watch the battles of these geniuses in the National Defense Mansion who were older than her. She had just reached the 7th level of the Xuanmei realm. Watching these 6th, 7th, and 8th level battles would help her. You elders don't have to worry about me. I'm only here to watch their battles. Princess Shenxiao took a seat with a good attitude. The princess is still the most talented. Not only does she have a wild level totem, but she also has such a realm. The genius you mentioned is a few years older than you, and her strength is probably about the same as yours, Xiang Liuchen praised. Seeing their praise, Zhang Zizai pouted. She invites you to fight, do you want to go? Zhang Yuning asked. Zhang Zizai said, I'm too lazy to pay attention to her. People's attention is still on the grand banquet of protecting the country. When Princess Shenxiao arrived, the prince just glanced at her and continued to talk to Xiang Liashu next to him. Your treasure is so easy to use, can you lend me some next time? The prince laughed. Your Highness, all the beauties in the world are throwing themselves at you, how can you still use this thing? That one, you are disobedient. The prince glanced at Dong Yangjing. Understood. I'll send some to His Highness later. Xiang Lu was feeling a little worried. He stared at Zhang Zizai and said, what do you think Zhang Zizai is doing here today? He's really wasting my time. I don't know when he'll leave. How about I think of a way to get rid of him, the prince said with a smile. They had been playing together since they were little, and there was almost nothing they didn't talk about. Xiang Liashu told them everything about Li Rengxiang. Your Highness, do you have a way? Xiang Liashu's eyes lit up. The prince smiled and said, it has nothing to do with me. It was my good sister who helped you. My spy just told me that Xiao Zhao had a breakthrough and challenged Zhang Zizai to fight another battle outside at Nalan Mountain. This chapter is not over yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading. Did Zhang Zizai agree? Xiang Liashu smiled. What a coincidence. He was worried that no one would lead the annoying Zhang Zizai away. No, but I guess this person has a strong desire to fight. If he meets an evenly matched opponent, he might want to break through himself. If you don't believe me, just watch. He understood Zhang Zizai's character. Thank you so much, Princess Shenxiao. Xiang Liashu laughed dumbly. The prince's eyes turned, he leaned close to Xiang Liashu's ear and said, give some of your Li Renxiang to Xiao Zhao, the amount should be heavy. Xiang Liashu was stunned, and didn't react for a long time, then said, Nalan Mountain, a desolate mountain, the prince wants her and Zhang Zizai to have a passionate relationship. Li Renxiang will take effect after a period of time, and by then, it can still be emitted through the body fragrance of women. Even if the man has not been contaminated, he will be hallucinated by Li Renxiang, which is equivalent to both of them being tricked, and they can't find it at all. The prince smiled meaningfully. What is your purpose? Is he going to prepare a video talisman to record it? And then let Princess Shenxiao be ruined? I understand, your majesty is betrothed to Princess Lingxian. What a wonderful move. It's the two of them who have fallen into the trap. Xiang Liashu was excited. Don't use the image talisman, let them develop on their own. Think about it, the last thing Sufei wants is for Shenxiao to be involved with Zhang Zizai, especially after the marriage is granted. If they have a relationship, I don't have to do anything next. Shenxiao, this little girl, will fall into a whirlpool and eventually destroy her completely. Yes, if the image talisman is released, it will be too risky and people will suspect that someone is manipulating it. Your Highness only needs a trigger to completely tie her to Zhang Zizai. In the future, Your Highness doesn't need to do anything at all. She will kill herself. A proud princess like her must value chastity very much, but Zhang Zizai is her sister's husband. In the future, sisters will fight for husbands. This kind of thing will completely destroy her. It's terrible, Your Highness. Xiang Liashu was amazed. He still wanted to use the image talisman, but the prince was one step ahead. He didn't use much force, just a little push, and he hid himself. No one would find out that this matter had anything to do with him. He wanted to let Princess Shenxiao die in the whirlpool. Your Lorengxiang is still the best. As a reward, you can enjoy yourself tonight. If anything happens, I will help you suppress it. The prince smiled. Xiang Liashu smiled and said, "Don't worry, your highness. Zhang Yuning is very timid. She will surrender. In addition, her martial arts skills are too weak to escape from my palm. The most beautiful woman in Daejiang County, I am moved when I see her." "You are lucky." The prince patted his shoulder with a sinister look. The two of them met and couldn't help but smile. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 180. Xiang Liashu came on the court again, defeated his opponent easily, and entered the semi-finals with a strong and overwhelming attitude. Dong Yangjing also easily made it to the semi-finals with 2 fierce battles. Next is the much anticipated semi-finals, and the princes and ministers are also looking forward to the performance of the younger generation. Xiang Liuchen manipulated it a little bit, and Xiang Liashu faced Bailey Sixen, the son of the minister of the Ministry of War. His performance was very eye-catching. He felt stronger than Dong Yangjing, and his fighting style was very fierce. He had a weapon-type totem, the Sixen Divine Sword Totem. Dong Yangjing's opponent was the weaker one among the semi-finals, named Xian Yuer, the daughter of the Lord of Xianying City. She was lucky to reach the semi-finals, because the descendants of the two Taiwais were stronger than her, but were eliminated by Xiang Liashu. The two semi-finals were held separately. First, Dong Yangjing fought against Xian Yuer. In people's eyes, this future crown princess performed very well. The king of Qingluan was so happy that he bent over, watching his daughter successfully defeat Xian Yuer and enter the final decisive battle. Xiang Liuchen made such an arrangement, and the princes and ministers must have known that this was laying the foundation for the crown princess. When she got married, she would have the capital of being the champion of the national banquet, and the people of the world would be more convinced. In the future, even if she became the queen, people would remember that she had such an honor. In another battle, Xiang Liashu and Bailey Sixen had a hard battle. Xiang Liashu handled it well. He finally defeated Bailey Sixen after a hard battle, but he was already injured and looked very bad. Then, the much anticipated decisive battle began. Xiang Liashu, against Dong Yangjing. The two sides fought hard. As a player in the game, Dong Yangjing felt that today was too smooth. Thinking of the person sitting here and smiling at her, she knew the reason. She was too lazy to fight anymore, but Xiang Liashu had good acting skills. He pretended to be defeated before the real confrontation. His performance was very real. In the end, he spurted blood and retreated. He said unwillingly, "If I hadn't fought with Bailey Sixen and consumed too much, I would not have lost to you." This can deceive the disciples of the Guardian Palace around him, and the world, but it can't deceive the princes and ministers around him. Everyone just has a tacit understanding in their hearts and didn't expose it. In this way, Dong Yangjing successfully won the first place in the Guardian Palace banquet and won almost the highest honor in the Guardian Palace. Next, the Guardian Palace banquet is not over. The Battle of the Juniors is only a part, and the banquet is the foundation. There will be a lot of singing and dancing performances next. This is also a grand event for the princes and ministers. There are many newly promoted senior officials who want to please their masters in this grand event. The juniors who participated in the battle, except for those who were seriously injured, cannot leave casually. They still have to follow the elders and make more friends. Under the control of King Qingluan, Dong Yangjing couldn't leave either. However, she had no interest in participating in these things, and she just perfunctorily dealt with socializing and the like. It's over. It seems that I worried too much. They are all people who like to save face. They won't make a fuss at the banquet. Zhang Yuning was finally relieved. She was really worried that the prince would irritate Dong Yangjing, and then something irreversible would happen. Zizai, you go back first, Zhang Yuning said. Zhang Zizai saw that there was indeed nothing wrong. The prince was also a person who liked to save face. He could only slowly influence Dong Yangjing now, otherwise Dong Yangjing would definitely embarrass him at the risk of her life on the day of the wedding. Okay, then I'll go first. The rest was a banquet for their group of people. There was really nothing to see. Zhang Zizai wanted to go back to see if Lu Dingxin had evolved successfully. Zhang Yuning also had to go back to practice. After saying goodbye to her, Zhang Zizai had just walked out the door and entered the pitch-black darkness when someone spoke behind him. You are indeed a coward. Running away without a fight will only make me look down on you. She actually followed him out. She was really haunting. Are you sick? Zhang Zizai turned around and saw her standing under the lantern, looking at him coldly. You were so arrogant at the 6 prefectures grand meeting, but you are so cowardly today. I have issued a challenge to you, but you ran away. It's really ridiculous. The 7th level of the Xuanmei realm, so great, Zhang Zizai made her laugh. He was not too anxious anyway, and the other party was indeed a worthy opponent. He said, let's go, Nailanshan, right? Today I will let you see your grandfather's methods. Zhang Zizai, you dare to claim to be the father of my father. This is a serious crime that will be beheaded, she said angrily. Ha ha ha, do you have any evidence? Zhang Zizai rolled his eyes and said, hurry up, don't waste my time. He walked quickly in front, and Princess Shenxiao caught up with him from behind. Nailanshan is the back mountain of the Huguo mansion. It is very close, and the disciples of the Huguo mansion often practice here. She knew he was fast, and as she chased him, she didn't know why her heartbeat began to stop, her face began to turn red, and she felt a little hot for no reason. In her eyes, Zhang Zizai gradually became tall and mighty, with an indescribable attraction. Arriving at Nailan Mountain, Zhang Zizai found a remote corner and stood there. It was pitch black all around. Today, the Huguo mansion was so lively that there were almost no people in Nailan Mountain. Princess Shenxiao arrived in front of him. It was too dark, and Zhang Zizai couldn't see her face clearly. He smelled it and said, are you sick? You put on such heavy spices to see me today. It's vulgar. This body fragrance is so fragrant, even the 9 immortals don't have such a strong smell, full of primitive temptation. This fragrance fills the surroundings, causing Zhang Zizai to have a dry mouth and a little hot body, as if there is a fire in his heart. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Don't talk nonsense, I didn't. She gritted her teeth and said. Ding. She pulled out another Holy Dragon Emperor sword from the scabbard. The golden sword brought some light to the surroundings and also illuminated her face. Zhang Zizai immediately saw that her face was as red as an apple, and her eyes were blurred and full of mist. Today, I defeated you. From now on, I have nothing to do with you. You can only look up to me in the future. She came here to break this inner demon permanently. In order to cultivate to the 7th level of the mysterious vein realm, she has waited too long. Originally, I wanted to challenge him again in a few days, but I didn't expect to see him at the National Defense Banquet today. The war in my heart can no longer be controlled. Zhang Zizai was puzzled. He wondered, let's fight. Why are you blushing? Are you poisoned? Bullshit. Speaking of blushing, even the princess swore. She was actually panicked. Many things inexplicably appeared in her mind. She didn't know why she had completely forgotten her mother's words. There was only this man in her eyes. All his brilliance was so shining. She was very scared. Did she really fall in love? Zhang Zizai took a deep breath. He didn't know why she was so charming with a blushing face. The fragrance on her body surrounded his whole body, making him want to get closer to her uncontrollably. Then there was a long silence. The two of them stared at each other blankly, and unknowingly, they got closer. Ding! Princess Shengxiao's Holy Dragon Emperor sword fell to the ground. She was a little confused. She wanted to pick it up but had no strength. In the dark night, she couldn't see how red she was. Did you catch a cold? Why is your body so hot? Zhang Zizai and she were leaning against each other without knowing when.